All right, guys. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where y'all are joining us from. We've got a very exciting webinar today. It's been a few months in the making, and we're happy to have Weatherford and just kind of go through everything that they've experienced and we've experienced with them on the Mascot Media platform. Not that y'all need to hear a ton about myself, but my name is Grant Harmon. I work at the Mascot Media office here in Fayetteville, Arkansas. And just a few things here before we get started, guys. There will be a Q&A section at the end of the webinar. But in the meantime, if y'all wanted to go ahead and, just send your questions in the chat here, like I said, at the end of the webinar, we will have a Q&A session with Joe to kind of hit on some of those key points that y'all are wondering about. During the webinar as well, we'll have people dropping in helpful links in the chat. So if y'all ever wanted to go check out, Weatherford's website or app directly, those will be thrown in the chat as we go as well. So without further ado, we will just go ahead and get rolling here. And so a little bit about Weatherford. So they are located about straight west of Dallas, not too far outside. But just has a little background. So their population, just over 30,000. They're still a 6A school, and they're located in Parker County, Texas. And so for those of y'all not familiar with Parker County, there are lots of big schools within that county. But in the terms of digital platform, digital content, Weatherford rocks everybody's world. And so to get to the man of the hour, the man that doesn't hardly need an introduction, but this is Mr. Joe Costilla. Joe has had several positions within the state of Texas, lived there his whole life, but it seems like he's really found a nice home there in Weatherford. And just a heads up, we almost had to create a second slide for all of the awards and accolades that Joe has racked up over his extensive career. But just to name a few, with Joe at Weatherford, he has accomplished the broadcasting award for back-to-back years. And those broadcasting awards, guys, they're coming up here soon, just before spring gets rolling around. So obviously we'll be looking forward to Joe's submission again for the 2024 year. And so before we jump in here and kind of talk about Joe's success and kind of, again, what he's experienced on our platform, we want to take a look at why content matters. And this is really, guys, kind of the basis of this webinar, right? Why is a website, why is an app important to the community, parents, players, and students? So obviously, guys, this is the number one way to gain a sense of community, right? So this is the one-stop shop. People know where to go. They don't have to wait on a local news station to post a news article or, tune into Channel 5 News at night. They know where to go. And again, this is just a one-stop shop. This is also a great way to just expose athletes, expose coaches, their accomplishments, game scores, video highlights, whatever that might be. And again, this is also a great way for ADs, coaches, to keep their community engaged, be transparent, and obviously, build that connection with the community members, wherever y'all are at. And there's also, again, a great communication stream to keep players and parents connected, as long as the student athlete was obviously the most important thing here that we are trying to showcase. And so our number one goal at Mascot Media, we want to put times back in the hand of ADs. Obviously, we know that the schedule of an AD changes probably every 30 minutes. They'll have something new going on. So we like to say that our back end, we like to say it's so easy that a caveman can do it, or in this case, it's so easy that Joe can do it. And I'll have Joe touch on that here in just a few minutes, guys. But again, Joe has been great. But this, our CMS, or content management system, as we like to call it, it's super user-friendly. We've got several old retired ADs here in our office in Arkansas, and I'm confident if they can learn it, I promise y'all anybody can learn it. It's really that simple. Most of this stuff, it's just a few clicks to get a picture uploaded, to get a news article posted. It's seriously at the touch of your fingers. And so, with that being said, we kind of will start asking Joe a few questions here, as we've already got him introduced here. But one thing that really kind of stands out with Weatherford is how much content that they have put on the website on a daily and both a weekly basis. And so, Joe, I'll kind of open the floor here to you. Do you have a process, or just like, do you have like a streamlined way of like putting information on the platform, and just again, just to kind of keep that steady flow with your community engaged?
Well, first, Grant and everybody, thanks for having me on. It's really an honor. I really enjoy getting to work with Mascot Media and working with everybody that's a part of it, because they're in the people on the webinar here just need to know that their customer service is second to none. I call them way too much, and I know they get tired of it, but they answer it every time, and they're always extremely helpful, for what they got to do. And so that's the first thing is like with having a process of putting out content, you got to figure out how to do it. And, I did not know a lot, and I'll get into that later, but I was not some tech savvy guy, that just knew how to do this stuff. And so really kind of figured that out. But the biggest thing is, as an AD or anything, you're going to everything anyway. And so being able to get some sort of content from that, whether it's video or it's pictures or things like that, that helps out, number one. But then number two is it takes a village, and that's the hardest thing to like get your staff and people to buy in on, is to realize our website right here is the newspaper. Like, we don't, and for reference, we don't get a whole lot of subscriptions to the newspaper. I think our subscribers for our local newspaper is around 1,500. Well, Lev can attest to it. Like our website, in the last month has hit over 10,000 people, and our social media platforms and everything. And that's what's so great, is it's so tied into this. And so with it taking a village, the number one thing I got to talk about is Randy Cutshaw. He's our school photographer. Most every picture you're going to see on here comes from Randy Cutshaw. And so he does a bunch of stuff, and he's at everything. And I told him at the start, I said, Randy, I'm going to steal everything you have and I'm going to put it on the website, do this and that. And it makes such a huge difference. And so like when you go to our website, what I try to do a great job is to keep everything fresh and new, and so like when you click on our link and look at our site, the first thing that pops up is our soccer game last night. It's kind of cool. It's got all this fog there. It was like we were playing in the Legend of Sleepy Hollow. But like I said, you got to keep that stuff fresh. But putting content out there, it takes a village, because we have Randy Cutshaw on that, but also too, I train up my coaches. Now, listen, I know what you're thinking. I don't want my coaches taking videos and pictures while they're coaching. That's not what we're doing. What we want to do is after the game, we get a big win. We want to celebrate that win. And so we, a lot of times, will have player of the game or something like that, that will just get any kind of positivity towards our kids. So, last night we had soccer, and we took a picture of the girls that score a goal, and the coach is like, hey, here's the girl that's the player of the game. And so we take a picture, we post it on social media, we post it on our website. And, like when you go to our website, you can kind of see, it'll say, well, Cooper leads the Roos to big victory, blah, blah, blah. And you can kind of see how that's going to be tied in with the news article. It's going to be tied in with the social media post, and it's going to be tied in with the soccer team, but it's fresh. If somebody goes to our website, they're going to see exactly what we did last night and see our scores and results. And so as far as getting content on there, that's the biggest thing. And that, and, the first thing I do every morning when I get in here, I get in, the first website I go to is our site. And then the second site I go to is the Mascot Media homepage, where I can do, I call it the homepage, but it's just where you build the site, and it's where you do your web design at. And that's, for me, is where I'm at all the time. I'm on those two sites. I'm loading stuff up. I'm copying links over. I'm slamming it there. And so that's what kind of gets to me. But now it's gotten to be, if I say it takes a village, I got Randy, I got my coaches, I got this. But now, since we've done this for years, parents already know. I have parents sending me pictures or videos of, hey, here's a goal, here's wrestling, here's where we, pinned this other kid and won the match type deal. So all that included is kind of what we're looking for with that. And it helps to be at everything, but I can't be at, we had home soccer last night, we had away soccer, we had away basketball. You have sub varsities. You can't be at every place at one time. The key is just get some content from the places you are there, because you're still watching the game objectively. I'm still be able to watch my coaches, watch our kids, but I can also be able to snap some pictures or some videos while I'm there at it.
Absolutely. And Joe, just like you had mentioned, you just said that you can't be everywhere at one time. So if someone here on this call, say they're new to mascot media, and say, Joe, they don't have a ton of resources or a ton of technology knowledge in that sense. And I mentioned earlier, it's so easy that Joe can do it. Could you maybe take a deeper dive into how easy it is, or like your background? Do you have any tech experience? And again, how have you had so much success uploading stuff on a weekly basis?
And it's really two words. It's Lev Wiley is why I'm able to do that. He taught me so much. And no, I say that, yeah, I mean, he taught me a lot, but also mascot media is so easy. So my story is was a college athlete. I turned into a coach. I was mostly football track throughout my time, and was just a teacher coach. I taught special ed. I got into this role where I was the assistant athletic director, and I was at a place that hadn't traditionally been a successful powerhouse. And I felt like a large area of need that we needed to do was to branch out our social media, to branch out our website, our online presence. I think people say, but it's just a simple deal of, man, this is where everybody's at now, and this is where you're going to improve the vision of your school more than anything. You can get out there and talk to people all you want about it, but things like this and this website and our Facebook, our whatever social media platforms do way more volumes for speaking good about our school than anything else we can do. So getting back to that, so when I was hired on, that was a large objective, and I had zero experience. I'm not a tech guy. I'm not real tech savvy. I can't figure out things on my phone all the time, but man, it was real easy to learn. And I really feel like if I can do it, anybody can do it. And then the next thing I did was I had an iPhone, but it was older and this and that. And luckily my wife kind of, convinced me into it of like getting the better and more upscale cameras. So I would get like the Pro Max and stuff, and I try to keep my cameras and everything up to the nth degree, just because you can see such a difference on getting the nicer phone rather than the lesser. And my memory, I run out of that, I'm sure, real quick. I get the hugest phone I can get just because you're taking so many videos and pictures. But man, it's super easy. And with talking about limited funds, man, it doesn't take any money to create and do this website, but also to create a network of your coaches in which they can be able to send you stuff. And I'm in a big school now, but most of my life I've been in a small school and in different small schools. And with that, even with the small schools, big schools, all you got to have is your coaches, or like I said, sometimes you can get some parents or this and that. Hey, just be up with that. And I always hated kind of a player of the game deal and this and that. But you know what? Our biggest hits on social media were always just players of the game. And it's something so simple. And then I noticed, so we started doing players of the game, I guess, 2 years ago. And then that leads to things even like the athlete of the month that I'll get into here in a second. But so we would do our players of the game, and they were huge hits. And so then I started going to our website and saying, how can I incorporate this as well? So it's just like the game last night that on our site, you can see the Cooper girl, was she leads the ruse. When you incorporate somebody's name on those articles and image sliders, it makes a huge difference. Our impact on those news articles, I mean, it's tenfold. And that's another thing with that of just some little tidbit that I think is a huge deal is the news slider impact. So like what I do is, and you can see on the top of this screen, news. And so I used to post all these news articles, and I don't want to say nobody went to it, but the impact wasn't as big as I wanted it to be. It's like, okay. So then I started doing the image slider. So like, what's the image slider? It's as soon as you pull up our website, what picture's there, and it slides through about 8 pictures that you can just slide through, and you can see that there at the bottom right a little bit. And so it just slides through pictures. And once I started tying our news articles to those image sliders, I felt like our traction was bigger, our impact was bigger, or everything got bigger. And so that's just something that I thought that impact was good. But the getting back to the root of the question is, sorry, because I chase a lot of rabbits. But getting back to the root of it is, I had no experience, absolutely zero. I have no technological bone. I'm not somebody that is tech savvy with that stuff. And if I really think if I can figure it out and be able to do it, then anybody can. And now it's just clockwork. And so, Friday night after games, Saturday morning, because you want to be able to keep it fresh. And that's the other deal is it doesn't take money to really run it, especially when you get, Mascot Media. They started doing at first we just paid and didn't have them do our advertisement. It's been so much better now that they have taken the advertisement because we just didn't really have time to be able to do that. And so with them selling it, it's just been smoother, it's been easier, and it's very, very affordable, especially for how, for how big of an impact it's had on our school and on our town.
And Joe, that kind of leads me into our next point here. So you said you didn't have a tech bone in your body, but once you got it figured out, once you got stuff uploaded and pushed out on y'all's digital platform, in the website and the app, did you notice anything like from the community itself? Did you notice more support, maybe more sponsors approaching you in any way?
Yeah, and so that's kind of the deal is that, and sponsors too, they were wanting to get in on it because at first nobody really wanted to do that. And then the second year they saw our numbers and they were really good, and it was like, oh man, we want to get on there. But then again, we're tied so much to that. But then now, when we're on year 4 of being on this program, our numbers dwarf those first year or two. But it's about it's about the consistency, right? And I mean, now people are used to it there, and they know where to go for that. So, but our community is a lot like everybody's community. They're slow to change, slow to take hold, technology, because like we do our ticketing from here too, which has been great. I really like that aspect of being able to do the ticketing. But on the flip side is people are hesitant to do that, because it's, oh, this or that, it's different and all that. But the real thing is it didn't take long for people to catch hold of that either. And so it's been way, way easier once they've gotten a part of it. But then the bigger thing, like what you're saying, is the community and the impact and this and that. I've started, and I go back to when I first started, let's get out the most positive information we can about Weatherford athletics. And now I really view our whole website, everything that we do is just a billboard for the community and the school. And let me tell you why, because we have had a major influx of population. Like Parker County is a very hot area that people want to move into. And, I can't tell you how many kids and people, coaches, players, when they move here, they're moving from a lot of West Coast. I mean, it's California, it's Washington are the two biggest states we see. We see some Arizona and some Oregon as well. But the two big ones are California and Washington. And I was visiting with a parent. He's been here 3 years now. And, it's like, hey, why did y'all even, move here? And he said, because we have nice facilities. He was like, well, at first we see the facilities and we like that. And then we got online and looked at the website and looked at your mascot media stuff. and everything's professional, everything looks good, and everything you're reading and looking on there is positive. I mean, I'm not going on there and putting, hey, Weatherford loses by 50, or something, if that ever happens, on our website, because we want to keep everything in a positive light in nature for our kids, for our community, and our parents. And so that has really turned into like I said, a billboard for our school. I think we've gotten students just from being able, especially athletes, just from being able to see our website and see something that looks, top notch. And so I take a lot of pride in that. And it's mostly because every single detail, to the sport, to the photos that are on there, to the news articles, has my hand on it. And so it takes a lot of time and effort, but I think it's worth it for us to be able to, improve our athletic program and improve our school and community.
Absolutely. And Joe, so obviously, just like you mentioned, the more effort you put in, the more outreach, the more people it's going to touch. I know you just mentioned that, you talked to somebody that moved in all the way from the West Coast and they said, hey, we saw your site. And that was one of the factors, the deciding factors to why we chose our kid to attend Weatherford High School. And so with that, that's obviously like a great success story in terms of the digital platform that Mascot Media can provide. Joe, would you have any other advice to schools or ADs that might be on here to just pushing out a platform to so that school can have, a platform that a community will love and like again really just kind of dig deep into?
Yeah, yeah. Well, the biggest thing is to be patient. Because like I was, Johnny gonna take the world by storm and the bull by the horns and this and that. And you do all this work because like to set up the site is a lot of work on the front end to get it the way you want it. You can go live and it's, I mean, you're pretty basic and you don't have a lot. For me, after talking to Lev, I really felt like it was advantageous to us to build up the site as much as we could before we went live. Because what I did not want, because you never get a second chance at a first impression. And what I wanted is that first impression to be very thorough, to be this is a professional website. And I think that did help us out. So because of that, I mean, Lev would remember better than I would, but I think we waited almost 6 weeks, nearly 2 months of trying. Now, what hurt too, that was during the middle of COVID, and that's a whole separate deal of as an athletic administrator, it felt like I was, 80% of my job was having to deal with COVID and, how to deal, what to deal. Um, but I wanted to get this site to where it looked and felt real. It felt professional. It felt like a college or pro site. And so you can kind of see on the slide that's up there now, I loaded all these forms. I loaded all this, you try to load history, you try to load, some photos and this and that to where you can be as professional as possible. And so to do that, it's kind of discouraging, not discouraging at first, but like not everybody's going to get it right away. Like it's not going to go, 0 to 1 million right there. But I, I knew to be patient, and that helped out. But also too, I had help from one of y'all's original schools. I think on Mascot Media was Christian Brothers in New Jersey, and Christian's Brothers Academy had a great site, and I was. I really at first I was like, hey, I really want to be like that. I want to make sure that our site is second to none. And Lev helped me get in contact with them. I even called and talked with their athletic administrators and kind of got together with it and understood what they did, how they did, and all that stuff. And it was a great, valuable resource there at first. Because here's the deal, and they didn't really allude to this, but I think Lev kind of understood this as well, is the community will buy in. Okay, they will buy in. And then once they get, as long as you keep up after it and keep it fresh, keep it where it is a place you got to go. Like I want people, all of our fans, all of our parents, all of our everything, to have our site as one of their favorites so that they're going to it all the time. It's not even a thought or a question. They just, hey, I got to check and see what's on the website today. And so they will buy in time. But once they get hooked, watch out because the expectations grow wild after that. And I kind of like that expectation. because like if we don't have something new or say, cheer, I remember, our cheer team got third place at state just a couple of weeks ago. And I went home that night right after it, and I stayed up late just writing an article, getting things on there, because I know as well as anybody, if Sunday morning that thing's not on there, man, you're losing. People are gonna, hey, where's this at? And so the expectations of that are something that I think is a good thing, but it's something that'll come once you start putting all this content on there. I really think, and just if advice and how to do and what to do, man, it's fun. I think it's an everyday thing. Like I told you, as soon as I get on in the morning, that's the first thing I do is make sure that we're updated with everything that we have. And that's the other deal is with that, you got to kind of steal time, of like I'm people think I'm like ADD or ADHD because I'm just constantly working and I'm moving all the time. But it's not that. It's just a frame of mind and reference, right? Of like keeping going forward, keeping all your stuff up to date. And I love doing that. I love stealing time. But also with that is, just talking about being patient and people are going to catch on. The best part, if you could boil it down to like, hey man, best parts of mascot media, the biggest and best part is that everything's here. Like you don't have to, hey, click this site if you need this, click this if you need that. Hey, it's all right here. You need to buy tickets, it's here. You need to do your broadcast, it's here. We need to, do whatever. It's all right here. Your resources and something that we've actually gotten into. And I know the other ads will like this is the camps. So you see our camps tab. We run all of our camps through the site. And so we publicize it, we get a flyer for it, and it works out so well because this is a big school, but the elementaries always are like, Coach, we need some flyers, we need some this or that. Hey man, now it's so easy. Because that first year I was trying to do it not on the site, and I had this flyer, and oh, that's not updated. You have it. Scratch that. Do it all through this website. And all I do is I send this link, and I like to try to send it around spring break to all of our um, principals at the elementary schools. And I send that link to where they can see camps, they can get on there, they can forward that out, they get it on their newsletter. And, because of that, our camps have been bigger too. And so you kind of win twice with that. You get your publicity out there for one, but then number two is your camps are more successful and raise more money because there's more people at them. So it's just kind of double fold there, but I think it all stems from everything being in one location.
Absolutely. And Coach, I know you just mentioned several features that a school can place on either the website or the app. And I know, Coach, you kind of touched on this earlier, that really some of like the high striking things, or like the most engaged things, have been some of those athlete of the week posts, right? Would you have any other features other than maybe athlete of the week or the news tab that you really see the community get involved in?
Hey, you know what's maybe the biggest thing, and I've started using this. I'm still new to this, right? I'm a technological dinosaur, but is using the hub for announcements. Okay, let's go back to last week. Here in Dallas Fort Worth area, we had some really rough weather. We canceled we canceled school. A lot of people did. We didn't. And so, but the team we were playing canceled school. And so they wanted to cancel the game and this and that. So what we did is we went to the hub and I created an announcement and that sent out to everybody that has the app. So if you have the app, that announcement comes up. But then the second thing, and nearly more important, everybody's going to our site every day, right? You're staying consistent. Go to the site. So they would go to the site. The first thing you would see for that day, and you can put a time limit on it too, is the first thing you see would be announcement, and it's big, huge letters, schedule change. Basketball is rescheduled, not playing tonight, playing tomorrow night in Trinity. And so because of that, it was a much better way to communicate. Of course, you put it on social media and stuff like that, but like not everybody's got social media, and that falls through the cracks. But if you've got our app, which most of our parents, I would think, have our app, just because they're so used to watching, watching games on there, seeing, news articles and things like that on there, that they're just kind of used to going to that. And so it pops up when they have the app and says, hey, schedule change. And it's just like a text message. And so because of that, I think you're getting information to everybody. And so, and you see on the slide that's up, the central hub for your athletic program. And with that, you can do different announcements. It's easy. It's something that you can put out and it goes to everybody, and it's simple. I mean, you type in your message right there. And what I like about it too is, everybody with this stuff can get wordy, right? And by the time you look at it, you got a paragraph. Well, guess what? People aren't reading that whole thing. They're not reading it. But if you can have something simple, schedule can't change, game moved to tomorrow night, and they limit the amount of characters you can have with some of the on the actual announcement, and that's all you need. I don't need a paragraph. Nobody's going to read that anyway. They're going to get lost in it. So simple. Here's the point. Here's what we're doing, and that's just another reason why we like the hub so much like that.
Absolutely. And so, Coach, I think we'll go ahead and dive here. And just a reminder, everybody, we will be sending out this recording. So if y'all ever want to come back and we'll have this archived for y'all to watch whenever you'd want to. But I think for now, we'll go ahead and we'll open up the floor. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to drop it in that Q&A box in the Zoom chat. And it looks like we just had one coming here for you, Coach. And so we've got a question here. And so they're asking about y'all's ticketing link on the website. Is there a way to get y'all's, if somebody has e-tickets, a hometown, GoFan, whatever that platform might be, is there a place to put that on the website, Coach Joe?
Yes, and so we put it right there in the middle of ticketing, and then you go and it's tickets, boom, it's right there and everything we have. And if you go to that right now, you'll see our season tickets and things like that. Now, other sites and people do it different. We have chose to not publish our games till the game day of for all other activities except varsity football. Because varsity football, we do them Monday morning at 8 a.m. because there's too much. We have way too many tickets and people buying them. We couldn't really do that day of. But our other games, especially in the spring, and like we were talking about the game last week getting canceled, there are so many cancellations and movements of games, and it messes up your ticket count, and refunding money and this and that. So we have just made it real simple. You publish and Pam does a great job with this of scheduling all the tickets to go on sale at 8 a.m. And so our fans are kind of used to that. Now, most of our parents buy season tickets, and we have chosen to do that, and that's been great. I think it's valuable. We try to cut them a deal so that it's a little bit less, and you can save a little bit of money there. But also too is it's easy. I buy one ticket, I have one service fee, and I'm done with it. So, but the thing that makes that great is it's so easy on the site. Well, you're like, hey, it's easy on the site, but when I get there, I don't have a computer or a laptop in front of me. I got to get on the app. And that's exactly right. But the app does a great job of being able to show, because like once you pull this up, man, ticketing is one of the first things that you see. And like when you get on there and start clicking on ticketing, it's already right there. You don't have to put in a QR code or whatever. Now, because of Mascot Media, we purchased, or no, I think it was part they gave to, I don't remember. Anyway, these sandwich boards of, one side of it was a QR code for ticketing. And at first, the second side was of social distancing and stay 6 feet away from people. And we've kind of taken most of those out and made both of them just kind of ticketing stuff. But, even with that, I can take my phone, even if I don't have the app, say I'm going to a different school, and then I come here, it's so easy because I get on there, the QR code, I click it, it takes me right to the link, and then I pay for it and go. You have pushback at first, because like I said, the only pushback is of the people don't want to buy tickets online and this and that. But listen, any game you go to, let me stress this, any game you go to, they are cashless. There is nobody paying cash anywhere. and with like pros or colleges or this and that. And so our administration wanted to do that. We were in support of that, and man, it's been a great move for us. Like I said, you go through a little bit of growing pains at first because hey, I got cash, I want to buy a ticket, and that's hey, sorry, if you're going to buy a ticket, you need to be able to do this. And but people get used to it. People fight it at first and say they're not going to, but they get used to it like that. It's not a problem. It's not a big deal. And so we really liked having that. But again, that's the allure for us. You want to watch our team play. You want to go to the game live. Everything is right there in the same place so that you don't have to move around or go to different spots for that.
Absolutely. And coach, I'll just kind of feed off what you just said. So
Okay.
I talk to ADs every week. I get them trained on the platform, this, that, and the other. And I will say one of the things that I've seen coaches respond well to, or referring to their community, is buying tickets on the app. Again, they don't have to, they can just do it right there at the snap of their finger. Takes about 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And it looks like we just had an actual really good question come in here. So obviously we've talked about how to get mom, dad, grandma Sally engaged using the digital platform. Have you noticed any feedback from your student athletes, which obviously as an AD, that's who you're there to serve. But coach, have you seen anything or any feedback from any of your players and students?
The biggest thing is they like to see, hey, coach, I like seeing my picture on the website, and because like you look at whatever, we have some basketball deal or something, and it's always, a big deal like that with your student athletes. And the other thing with the students is they're just like anybody. It's just like a news article. It's just like anything. They want to have their name called. They want to look at that. So we try to do as many names as we can. And like as far as news and stuff, I used to try to write these articles, and I'm sure it was kind of slopped together. I didn't like how it was. So I've started doing things just really simple. Like I'm a box score guy. I love looking at box scores, and I think kids do too. And so what we started doing is just like, hey, here's the game, and here's your leaders. And so, like on our basketball news, like from a couple weeks ago, like and everybody wants to put points first. Well, I rotated every time. I do something different. We had a kid that took 3 charges in a game. So, leaders, charges taken,
Yes.
Kane Chandler, and put different stats and this and that. And kids dig that. They're all in on that, and this and that. But then another time, hey, we got a kid that he got 17 rebounds. And so, Brendan Ballard, boom, he's here. He's one of the leaders, and go on from there. In football, we put yards, we put tackles, we put things like that just because it's stuff that, people want to read, get a little information. They don't want to read my terrible grammar or poor punctuation, and things like that. And so we just keep it really simple and do a lot of that different stuff. And so the athletes kind of gravitate towards that. They gravitate towards being on the athlete of the month, athlete of the deal. They really gravitate towards that. At first, we had a different camera system, and I had a big bunch of students, a lot of interest that wanted to announce games. And so, like, we would do sub varsity football games. So, like a freshman football game on a Thursday night. And we had a couple kids that really got into it, and we even let them announce. And so the broadcast was not just filming, but it was a production. We had announcers, we had this and that, and that was something that kids got drawn to too. And so I don't know. I think there's a lot of different aspects with that. Because like kids are not going to look at a website, but they're going to look at an app on their phone. And so that's the biggest thing that is kind of tying them in is and just trying to update the app as best you can and getting that to where it's it's top notch as you can get it.
Absolutely. And it looks like we've got time for maybe like one or two more questions here, coach. We just had another one come in, and they asked, so during maybe like quiet times or summer break or the off season of certain sports, when you don't have pictures and a ton of content to populate during the off season, is there a way that you have seen, or any of your coaches maybe, to like keep people engaged with that specific sport?
Yeah, and that's something that has been a constant deal. And so for us, we try to post and do as much stuff about summer workouts as we can. this kid working hard, blah, 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 and this and that. But this summer, I'm going to take it. I've had some thoughts of what to do and how to do. And I think what we're going to start doing a better job is doing athlete profiles. That's what I want to go into this summer is, and start out with like just our seniors and, our like leaders and people that, are going to be good and, not, hey, maybe he's going to start, he's a sophomore. Kind of avoid that conversation because that can lead to a whole different can of worms anyway. But, our returning all district players, so like in football, we have a really good receiver coming back. And so he's one of the first athlete profiles that we'll probably do this summer. And like I said, just keep it, weekly, maybe even a couple of weeks and just have that on there to where you keep people going to the site. Because you're right. I mean, no matter which way you chop it up, we played baseball till June because we had a really unbelievable pitcher who got drafted by the Padres and stuff. So we went really far into June. So, but from then until, football starting in August, it was kind of a dry time, and so we got to look to be creative and find different ways with that. But like for us, the ways we kind of do that in the last few years have been showing the summer workouts, showing season ticket sales, not just for football, but for everything. Football season ticket to sales are a whole different level here. I don't know if everybody kind of deals with that, problem. It's a good problem to have, but we really deal with that. Focusing on, cheer and booster clubs and things like that have kept us stay plugged in. But I'll go one step further. I think we need to do better with that, and I think a big part is the athlete profiles, but also like what's been big hits for us. And I've tried to do this during the summer, and I've done way better at this in years past than I have with the current athlete profiles, but is doing news updates about our college athletes. And so like we had a quarterback that started at Vanderbilt. And so like we did some stuff on him. We had a tight end at Florida, we would review and do some stuff with him. And again, we need to take it to a whole different level. But those are things we're going to try to focus on, this summer.
Absolutely. And it looks like we got one more question in here. And unless any other questions come through, we'll probably wrap it up with this one here for you, Coach Joe. Are there any specific things that you look to adjust or see what you can get the most out of? Which obviously you've already touched on a ton of this, but I'd say in maybe news articles, I would say.
Yeah, and I think it's constant, right? It's constantly sharpening the sword and trying to feel what's going to be the hit, for us. And so we have done several different things that weren't big hits right at the start, and we have just kept doing them like weekly reports, and we like to even put them on the site and hey, here's what happened. Here's like a synopsis of the week. And at first they got no traction, just nothing. And just in the last few weeks, after doing them for a couple of years, they have really exploded. And so it's little stuff like that to try to constantly make it a place to be, right? And going back is kind of like a good way, to finish or whatever compared to how you started is the wise man once told me content drives viewership. And if I'm not putting anything on it, there's nobody going to be going to that website. And so I can't tell you how disappointed I am because I get on other people and I just look and no judgment. I'm not judging people. It's just, it's such an avenue that's untapped. Or I know it was in our instance, because we had no social media visibility, we had no online presence. Things and pictures on our websites were from literally 15 years ago. And that speaks volumes, right? Because it's nobody's even touching it, nobody's even looking at it. And so because of that, I think it's one of those that we tried to really harp on to try to, man, let's make our site, make our social media platforms, everything just as first rate as possible, and if the better that looks, the better we all look. And so because of that, we've had big spikes. I mean, every year it's like, it's compounding how much we are improving and likes and this and that. Cause like, Facebook's not everything, but it's still a valuable tool. And when I first took over, I think we had a little over 1,200 followers. And just this last month, we went over 8,000 followers. And so, but there's no accident on why those things happen, and Lev can speak better on the hits on our website. I think that first year, half the hits were probably me of just, getting on there every day, looking whatever. But, now, I mean, our website has got a pretty wide range, and there's a lot of, just a lot of things that can be able to incorporate to that. So that's really a key to it, is just knowing that content is going to drive people to view your site and your app.
Absolutely. And Joe, it looks like I actually lied to you. We do have one other question, and I would say this probably applies to a ton of people here attending this meeting. Would you have any tips for getting your school administration bought into this platform? Obviously, like you said, people might be shaky at times,
Yeah.
but in terms of getting the higher ups, getting the board, getting the administration involved, would you have any tips for that?
Well, get Mascot Media to show them our numbers and see what it's done the last 4 years. That's a good way to do it. No, and the biggest thing is, I've said it before, is this is a billboard for your school. Don't think of that payment or the getting sponsors or whatever. Don't think of that as money spent. Just think of this, because this billboard is going to get way more people than putting the sign up that's static, and so I think that that's the biggest key of being able to lure those guys in. I'm very lucky to have a superintendent and board that realize the value of that, and the value of today's world, because man, it's different and it's changing every second, and everything that we're doing, it's improving, and it's a constantly rotating target, right? But the one thing that is for sure is things like this are going to, make an impact with people, with your parents, with your students, and with people outside. Because, what speaks to them is students coming in. Well, by how state funding goes in Texas, if I bring one student in, that pays for not just this year. I mean, it usually pays for a couple of years. But if I bring 5 kids in, that pays for 10 years of mascot. And if you update and take a lot of pride in your site with things like that, it's gonna happen, especially Texas is a hot area, man. Everybody's wanting to move to Texas. And so if you can, show them and showcase what a great school you have, I think it, kind of pays for itself.
Absolutely. And so, Coach, it looks like that's going to conclude our webinar today. Obviously, guys, I'm sure y'all have seen this come through the chat. But if y'all ever do want to get more information, or if you want to talk to somebody on our school sales team, that's obviously the information is here on this slide, and it is also in the chat here today. So, Joe, we want to thank you again for your time. That was awesome, and I'm sure people here that attended today appreciate the information as well.
What's great. Thank you, Grant. Thank you, everybody at Mascot Media. This is really fun. I just like getting on and talking about this because it's a passion, right? Like I spend a lot of time with that, and I like being able to talk to people about it and everything. And I'll always help anybody that I can if they need any help with any of this.
Absolutely. Well, we want to thank everybody again. And like I said, please feel free to reach out with any questions. We would love to get y'all connected with some members of our school sales team. So y'all have a great rest of your day. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.